My aunt stole my inheritance and gave it to her golden children. So I bought her house, and evicted her. You'd think someone who steals six figures from a teenager wouldn't get shocked when karma knocks, but watching my aunt sob on her porch, surrounded by boxes of her stuff, made it clear, she never saw it coming. My name's Evan. I was 17 when my mom died of breast cancer, leaving me orphaned. My dad had passed in a construction accident years earlier, so it had always just been us two. My mom was everything to me. She worked as a dental hygienist, the kind who remembered everyone's birthday and brought brownies to school bake sales even when she was on chemo. We didn't have much, but she somehow made our little rented duplex feel like a castle. Every spare dollar she had went into savings or life insurance policies, and before her condition worsened, she prepaid almost a full semester of college tuition. But when she passed, everything changed. The court said I needed a guardian, and that's when Aunt Linda swooped in, my mom's only sibling, and self-declared responsible one of the family. She wore control like a badge of honor. PTA president 3 years running, ran the community Facebook group like a dictatorship, and kept a wine glass in hand by 5:01 p.m. every evening without fail. Her house was the kind where shoes came off at the door and you weren't allowed to sit on certain furniture unless you were company. She had a husband who barely spoke and two golden children, Brad, the underachieving quarterback who couldn't pass a math test without tutoring, and Emily, a moody perfectionist who always had something brand name in her hand. Aunt Linda had cultivated an image, warm suburban matriarch on the outside, calculating control freak underneath. At the funeral, she played the role to perfection. "Oh, Evan," she sobbed, pulling me into a hug that felt more like a straitjacket. "We're family. Of course we'll take care of you. You don't need to worry about anything." The court agreed. She had the house. The stability. The appearance of compassion. They made her my legal guardian without hesitation. And just like that, everything my mother had saved, nearly $260,000 across insurance, savings, and her pension payout, was placed into a trust in Linda's name. I couldn't touch a cent until I turned 21. I didn't even get a say. And that's when the slow erosion began. At first, it was subtle. I asked if I could replace my dying laptop, the one Mom had gifted me in sophomore year, which took 5 minutes just to start and couldn't hold a charge for more than 10. "Too expensive," Aunt Linda said, patting my shoulder like she was comforting a child asking for a pony. "Use the family desktop in the den." That desktop was Brad's gaming rig. I got 30 minutes a night, max. Then it was college. I wanted to visit 3 schools out of state. Nothing fancy, just places with decent engineering programs. "We don't have the budget," she said firmly. "You'll thank me someday for being realistic." That same week, Brad got a brand new Jeep, with black rims, tinted windows, and a stereo so loud it rattled the garage door. A graduation gift, they said. He wasn't even graduating yet. Emily, meanwhile, went on a school trip to Italy. Designer luggage. Monogrammed passport holder. She posted selfies from Venice while I was working night shifts at a dishwashing job just to afford textbooks. The message was loud and clear, I wasn't a part of the family. I was a tenant. An afterthought. A wallet with no access to its own money. By the time I turned 18, I wasn't guessing anymore, I knew. The house had new curtains every season. A decked-out hot tub appeared in the backyard. Brad started a DJ hobby, which somehow came with a full Pioneer rig and LED setup. Emily got Invisalign and laser hair removal, cosmetic upkeep, Aunt Linda called it. I confronted her once. Just once. It was right after I saw the invoice for Emily's $2,700 private SAT tutor. I walked into the kitchen, held the bill up, and asked if it came from my trust. She didn't even blink. "I'm using the money responsibly," she said, tone crisp. "Your mother wanted you taken care of. That's exactly what I'm doing. Maybe if you showed more gratitude, Evan, I'd feel more comfortable giving you a bit of flexibility." Gratitude. That word hung in the air like a slap. She stole from me, then demanded a thank you note. That night, I downloaded a budgeting app and started logging everything. I made a spreadsheet, color-coded by month. Brad's Jeep maintenance bills. The new backyard furniture set. 2 iPhones in 1 year for Emily. A $900 espresso machine Aunt Linda didn't even know how to use. I logged it all. If I couldn't stop her, I could at least track the bleeding. And I kept working. Kept my head down. Played the broke, grateful orphan she expected. Because I had 3 years left. From 18 to 21, the worst part wasn't the theft, it was the performance. The way Aunt Linda kept pretending she was helping me. Playing both jailer and savior. She knew I couldn't afford to move out, not while my inheritance was locked away and my dishwasher paycheck barely covered bus fare and college fees. So she tightened the leash. She started charging me rent. "Now that you're 18, she said with that sickly sweet voice, it's time you learn responsibility. Just a token contribution, $300 a month." She called it rent, but there was no lease, no tenant rights. And if I was 5 minutes late, she'd text me reminders. Leave printed notes on my pillow. One month, I was short by $20 because work cut hours. She punished me by disconnecting the Wi-Fi and locking the laundry room for 2 days. I'm just trying to teach you financial discipline, she said with a smile. Your mother would have appreciated that. That phrase, your mother would have, became her favorite weapon. Anytime I pushed back, she'd invoke my mom like a human shield. I once brought up how Brad's car insurance mysteriously came from a shared account under the trust's name. Your mother would be ashamed of how you treat your cousins, she said. You're being petty. Petty. Emily got a MacBook for her birthday. I got a card with no money in it and a passive-aggressive Bible quote written in blue pen. Then there was the family vacation. Linda planned a 10-day trip to Hawaii, luxury hotel, all-inclusive, even matching t-shirts. Family tradition, she said. A bonding opportunity. But when I asked if I was going, she looked at me like I'd just asked to borrow her toothbrush. There's only so much room, she said flatly. And besides, you've got work, don't you? The day they left, I got an email from my college registrar, a $1,200 balance due. Aunt Linda had forgotten to forward the tuition payment from the trust. When I called her, she was poolside, drinking out of a coconut. Oh, right. I'll get to that next week, she said, yawning. Try not to panic. It's not like they'll kick you out. I missed enrollment for one of my courses and had to retake it the following semester. Cost me another grand. She never reimbursed me. During that time, I stopped asking and started preparing. Quietly. She still thought I was some tired kid struggling to earn my keep. She never noticed I'd started taking weekend real estate licensing classes. She didn't ask how I was paying for them, didn't care that I picked up a side gig at a warehouse to cover costs. And she never knew that every time she opened her mouth to insult me, I wrote it down. Every unfair deduction. Every missing dollar. Every time she said I was lucky to be under her roof. It all went in the file. A thick, tabbed binder I kept hidden in my closet. By the time I was 20, I had copies of invoices, logged transactions, voice memos, photos, and even bank statements I'd managed to sneak a look at while she was away. And still, I played the part. At family events, I smiled. Poured drinks. Washed dishes. Sat silently while she told the same lie about how Evan came to us with nothing, and we gave him everything. I let her think I was weak. Until my 21st birthday. That was the last time anyone in that house underestimated me. I thought I was prepared. I'd rehearsed the moment in my head 100 times, walking into the bank, signing the release forms, and watching the screen light up with the number that would make everything worth it. The number my mom had sacrificed for. The number that would set me free. I even wore a collared shirt. Looked the banker in the eye. Sat up straight, steady voice, like I was already somebody. Here to access a trust, I said. Evan Carter. I just turned 21. The banker smiled. Took my ID. Typed something into the terminal. And then her smile faded. She frowned, clicked a few more times. That sound, the low, polite confusion of someone trying not to tell you something awful, made the hairs on my neck stand up. Is there a problem? She looked back at the screen, lips tightening. Well, the account's not empty, but it's significantly lower than the original amount filed. She turned the monitor toward me. The number burned into my eyes. $18,406.21. My mouth went dry. I stared at it, willing another zero to appear. Willing the system to refresh, to reveal it was just a mistake. This can't be right, I said. She tilted her head. All disbursements were made by the trustee. Looks like most of it was allocated over the past few years, labeled as housing, educational support, and miscellaneous care. Miscellaneous care. That's what she called her spa days and Emily's Invisalign. Brad's stupid DJ setup. The hot tub. The goddamn espresso machine. I felt heat rising in my chest, shame, confusion, rage. My hand shook as I reached for the binder in my bag, the one I'd dragged around for 2 years. I opened it to the first tab, the original court filing. Right there, in black and white, $261,893.09. Gone. I'd like a full disbursement history, I said through clenched teeth. The banker blinked, clearly startled by my tone. Of course. We can print that for you. She walked off to the printer. I sat there, staring at that balance. My mom had worked double shifts for that money. I remembered her packing lunches in reused containers, fixing her own breaks, skipping meals some nights just to stretch things further. Every dollar was a sacrifice. And now it was gone. Stolen under the label of care. When the banker returned, I took the stack of papers without a word and walked out. The sunlight hit me like a slap, too bright, too normal. People passed me on the sidewalk laughing, sipping coffee, chatting on phones. I stood there with the papers clutched in my hand, the weight of the betrayal settling like wet cement in my lungs. She didn't just take the money. She took my mother's legacy and wore it like a fur coat. But that was the moment I stopped being stunned. That was the moment I started planning. Because Aunt Linda thought I'd walk away quietly. She had no idea what was coming next. In theory, revenge was easy. Step 1, prove what she did. Step 2, take something back that hurts. But in practice, revenge takes patience. Timing. The right kind of fire, not the kind that burns out, but the kind that simmers. I spent the next 3 weeks bouncing between anger and strategy. I reviewed the trust's disbursement history line by line, matching each educational support or housing need to physical proof I'd collected over the years, invoices, receipts, screenshots, even blurry photos of luxury Amazon boxes stacked in her garage. Every unnecessary purchase documented. Cross-referenced. Annotated. And in between the paperwork, the binders, the quiet, calculated rage, Aunt Linda kept calling. "Hey honey, Emily's looking into grad schools," she said sweetly on a Tuesday afternoon. "You always had good instincts. Maybe you can help us vet some programs." 3 days later, it was Brad. Brad's Jeep needs brake work again. Poor thing's been driving so much for his gigs. "Would you mind spotting us a bit until payday?" Spotting her. After robbing me blind, she wanted more. I didn't answer the calls anymore. I let them go to voicemail. But I didn't block her. No, I wanted the messages. I wanted evidence. Some of them were wild. "Evan, honey, you know we took you in when no one else would. I just thought maybe, now that you're all grown up, you'd want to help give back. It's what family does." Another one, just a few hundred to help with Emily's senior trip. "I know you've got access to your funds now." I laughed out loud when I heard that one. She still thought there were funds to access. So while she kept pressing for handouts, I kept working on my side life, the one she didn't know about. My part-time job at the property firm had just become full-time. I was quiet, diligent, and annoyingly observant, everything my supervisor loved. I'd learned the basics of foreclosure law. How auction blocks worked. What happened when a homeowner stopped making payments. I learned something else, too. Aunt Linda had refinanced her house. Twice. The deck. The kitchen remodel. Brad's soundproof garage studio. All financed through home equity. Her husband's hours got cut after COVID, and he'd never fully bounced back. They were surviving on image and interest rates. But when I pulled a credit history using one of the contacts I'd made, nothing illegal, just a request routed through a friendly loan officer, I saw it in bold. Balloon payment due in 14 months. Which meant, her time was almost up. If she couldn't pay the balloon, or refinance again, and with their debt-to-income ratio, good luck, she'd lose the house. That's when I made my move. I started attending foreclosure auctions, small ones, nothing flashy. Learned the language. Met some real sharks, guys who could get a neighborhood clean in a month. I kept quiet. Observed. Learned how to bid through LLCs. How to acquire liens. How to scoop a property before it hit open listings. Then I started stacking cash. I moved into a friend's attic. Took freelance accounting work at night. Sold my old laptop. Sold furniture. Cut every corner. I lived like a ghost. No splurges. No celebrations. Every dollar saved had a name on it, Linda. And the best part? She kept calling. Like clockwork. Each message a reminder. Each voicemail a push. Her voice wasn't sweet anymore, either. It got sharper, more entitled. "I know you're ignoring me now. It's hurtful, Evan. After everything we did for you. Another one, you'll regret turning your back on us. We're the only family you've got." She had no idea how wrong that was. Because soon, she'd be standing on the front lawn of her perfect suburban house, clutching a foreclosure notice. And I'd be the one holding the deed. The waiting was the hardest part. Not the planning, not the paperwork, not the endless budgeting, the waiting. That limbo between knowing what's coming and watching it actually arrive. 14 months. That's how long I had until the balloon payment came due. I tracked the timeline like a doomsday clock. And as the deadline crept closer, I noticed something strange. Aunt Linda got nicer. Not apologetic. Never that. Just more cautious. Softer around the edges. She started sending friendly texts, links to memes, videos of cats, old photos from when I first moved in. She called me sweetheart again. She even invited me to Brad's birthday party. I didn't respond to any of it. I let the silence do the talking. But I watched from a distance. Their front yard began to fade. Lawn uncut. Edges browning. The Jeep was suddenly up for sale on Facebook Marketplace, low miles, well maintained, serious inquiries only. Emily's Instagram went quiet, the spa selfies replaced by at-home facials and recycled outfits. I knew that look. It was the look of people trying to keep the boat from taking on water while pretending everything was fine. And Aunt Linda? She doubled down on the illusion. She started bragging to the neighborhood about refinancing for a new pool. Told people they were investing in vacation real estate. Even dropped a hint that she was thinking of launching a lifestyle blog. Meanwhile, the bank's final notice had already been issued. I had a copy of it sitting in my desk drawer. Got it from a friend at the records office, official, legal, embossed with the seal. It was dated, signed, and counting down days. And still, I hesitated. Not out of mercy. Not from doubt. But because some part of me wanted her to see it coming. I wanted her to look into the sky and realize it wasn't clouds forming, it was a storm she built herself. I visited Mom's grave 2 weeks before the auction. The cemetery was quiet. Birds overhead. A breeze sharp enough to cut through the summer heat. I knelt by her headstone and said nothing for a long time. Then I whispered, I'm taking it all back. No dramatics. No long speeches. Just a promise. That was the last quiet moment I allowed myself. Because the day after that, it all started. The morning of the auction was cool, gray, and utterly forgettable to anyone else. But I woke up before sunrise, dressed in clean black, and drove the 2 towns over to the courthouse steps like it was a ritual. Because for me, it wasn't just a financial play. It was the funeral of a lie, and I wanted to bury it personally. Linda didn't know the house was being auctioned that day. She hadn't told anyone about the balloon payment. She was still spinning her usual stories, that they were remodeling soon, that they'd decided to downsize eventually. But the bank didn't care about narratives. They cared about numbers. And the numbers said her time was up. The crowd was small. Foreclosure auctions always felt like feeding time at a Shark Tank, silent men in polos and sunglasses flipping through listings with blank expressions. I was the youngest person there by a decade, but I wasn't nervous. I was ready. I had the funds. I had the LLC already established. I even had the transfer paperwork pre-signed and notarized from the real estate office I worked with. When the auctioneer read out the address, I didn't flinch. 3 other bidders made small nods. I raised my hand and crushed them. My bid was aggressive, too aggressive for the property's curb appeal. But I wasn't there to make a deal. I was there to make sure I walked away with that deed. And I did. 45 minutes later, I stood with a hot coffee in one hand and a signed deed in the other. Title in my LLC's name. Fully legal. Fully irreversible. Aunt Linda's house was mine. I didn't go there right away. I waited 3 days. Because I wanted the letter to arrive first, the one I had priority mailed with the official stamp from the county office. Notice of property transfer and termination of occupancy, 30 days. She must have screamed when she saw it. I imagined her standing at the mailbox, eyes scanning the words, her manicured fingers trembling as the truth settled in, that house was no longer hers. It belonged to someone else. And that someone was me. She called me the next morning. I let it ring 5 times before answering. Evan, she said. Her voice was tight. Controlled. There's been a mistake. There's no mistake, I said calmly. You don't understand. This is our home. We've lived here for over 10 years. And you've done a lot with it, I said. Hot tub, remodeled kitchen, soundproof garage. Hope you enjoyed it. You can't do this. I did do this. There was a long silence. Then, softly, not angry, not indignant, just cold and confused, why? I could have screamed at her. Could have dragged up every voicemail, every insult, every time she let me eat dry pasta while her daughter ate lobster mac and cheese. But I didn't. Because you taught me how, I said. Then I hung up. I gave them 30 days, more than the law required. During that time, I didn't hear from Linda again. Not a call. Not a text. Brad blocked me on everything. Emily tried sending one vague, can we talk, message. I deleted it without reading. And then, on the final day, I showed up. I pulled into the driveway she used to scold me for parking in. They were outside, boxes stacked by the curb, garage open, junk strewn across the grass. Linda stood there in worn flats and a stretched-out cardigan, hair up in a bun that looked like it had given up hours ago. She didn't look at me. Brad was red-faced and silent. Emily was crying, actual tears, which shocked me. I walked past them and unlocked the front door. My front door. Inside was a shell. No photos. No art. Empty hooks and dust shadows where furniture used to be. But I wasn't there to reminisce. I was there to change the locks. I knelt by the front door, screwdriver in hand, and worked in silence as the family that raised me like a burden loaded their last box into a dented SUV. And just before Linda closed the trunk, she turned. Her face, once flawless, botoxed, and smug, was cracked with age and fear. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something. But there was nothing left to say. So I said it for her. Your 30 days are up. She flinched. Then she got into the car and drove away. I stood there on the front porch, breathing in the quiet. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of jasmine from the backyard, the same flowers she once tore out because they didn't match the aesthetic. I had them replanted the next week. And every time I passed the front window, I smiled. Because the woman who took everything from me was gone. 6 months later, the house didn't just feel like mine, it felt like home. I repainted the walls. Soft tones. No more sterile whites and fake elegance. I let in light. Replaced every curtain with open blinds. Refinished the hardwood myself, one room at a time, until every floorboard looked like new. The hot tub. Sold it. Used the money to install a reading nook in the sunroom, my favorite spot now. It's quiet here. I brew my own coffee. Plant vegetables in the backyard. I host friends sometimes, people who knew me when I was invisible and still saw me. And every once in a while, I walk through the front hallway and catch a glimpse of my reflection in the mirror. Not as the boy who got stolen from. Not as the orphan they pitied. But as the man who took back his life. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, it helps more than you know. Subscribe and stick around for more true stories with twists, turns, and just the right amount of karma.